Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Saturday, August 24th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 130 is Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life. This is the second Harvest Moon game on my list after I ranked Harvest Moon 64 about a month ago as my 165th favorite game. While 64 was all about the simple charms of the game and an engaging routine, A Wonderful Life opens things up a whole lot. It's a farming game. You do, farming stuff. Grow your crops, sell your crops, grow more crops, repeat. There's a bit more nuance to it though this time around, and if you ever decide to play this game, either track down the instruction booklet it came with, or look up a PDF of it or something. It has a ton of helpful info, like which crops work in which seasons, not only as a general statement, but even with advice on when to plant them and how to care for them. It's not only a comprehensive manual for the mechanics of the game, but a pretty in-depth strategy guide. It doesn't help just with the business of running a farm either. There's details about every single person you run into in town, including your possible love interests. This is the first time I've talked about a game's manual on the channel, and I assume it will probably be the only time I'm going to talk about a game's manual. It's awesome. Major props to the folks at Natsume. So what makes the game better than N64? Apart from the obvious things like graphics, there's just more. More crops, more animals, more people, more locations, more events, more everything. But not only is there just more stuff, each thing has additional nuance too. You can take a good look at your crops to check their ripeness, and have to tell by literally just looking at them. You can zoom in and look at them and see them and their color and stuff. How you look at food, like in real life. You'll need to care for them differently based on the weather as well, and may even want to consider different crop rotations too. There's more ways to make money than just seasonal crops, of course. For starters, one of the better ways to get money consistently throughout the years is trees. Plant them once, then tend to them while they grow, and then harvest them every year without needing to put in the work again. Beyond that, there's a fairly in-depth livestock system in the game. You have cows, chickens, and sheep, and within each, there's different levels or qualities of them that yield different products. You'll need to really care for these animals, making sure they're well fed, groomed, and importantly, loved. Not only can you pet the dog in this game, but you can hug the cows. In fact, you can hug a whole lot of things. Hug your dog, hug your sheep, hug your horse, hug your cows, hug your chickens, hug your wife, hug your kid. That's right, hug your kid! There's a whole family role to the game where you could start dating one of a few different possible people, giving them gifts, helping them out, stuff like that. Each person likes different activities, gifts, and behaviors, so think carefully about what you're doing. Once you fall in love, you can get married and then even have a child. Passage of time is a big deal in this game, and as you keep playing through the years and years of content, you actually age up, and so does everyone else. Over time, some of the people that started out maybe a little older in the town start to die off even. It's a whole thing. Perhaps the coolest thing about this game is that passage of time and how it affects your child. As your child grows, they develop their own personality, influenced by not only your actions, but those of your spouse and your neighbors. Maybe they grow up resentful of living on a farm in the functional middle of nowhere. Maybe they love the farm and want to take over it when you die. Speaking of dying, you can die! Eventually, as the game goes on and on, your character will die of old age. Depending on which version of the game you're playing, apparently different things will happen at that point. I only ever played the GameCube version, and when you do that, you've actually beaten the game, and you're done. It kicks you out. You can't play that file more. It's done. Apparently, on the PlayStation 2 port for the game, they added a Heaven mode that lets you keep playing indefinitely, but at that point, I don't really mind it being just done. It's cool to have a farming simulator game with an ending, and I mean Really, getting that far in the game is playing a lot of the game. There's nowhere else to go with your farm, so I don't really know what else you're gonna do. If anything, if I did want to play more, at that point I'd probably just start over anyways. There's loads of branching paths in the narrative based on who and how you help, what you focus on with the farm, who you marry, decisions you make as a parent, and just loads of stuff. Speaking of loads of stuff, there's more to do in the game than just the farming, by the way. You have a handful of other activities you can do, like fishing or cooking, both of which are fun, but also have some tangible gameplay benefits. Like if you make your own food, and as you get better at making food, it'll have more restorative properties for you to have more stamina to keep doing more intense work throughout the day. One thing I always really liked, though, as a side option, was the archaeology subplot. There's a dig site in town that you can help out at as a fun little minigame where you might find all sorts of things, most of which are mostly just good for selling. But there's a few items that make great gifts, and if you dig up special stone tablets, the dig site will continue to expand each year throughout the story, providing a great way to give another avenue for progress on rainy days when it's hard to work on the farm without getting yourself or your animals sick. Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life is a game that stuck with me for now over 20 years, and until I played the only other farming simulator game left to rank on the list, I thought of it as the absolute peak of the genre. And if you want to be kind of a purist about it, it might still be. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 129th favorite game, where I can now proficiently spam 3 moves with one fighter. Ooh.